The National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy is designed to, among other things, address challenges within the nation's cyberspace, improve indigenous technology development, as well as safeguard critical national information infrastructure. In the last 1 week, we have seen cyber attacks on organizations and institutions leaving concerns on the minds of many Nigerians. And when we begin to ask questions like the number of persons out there that possess the skills and knowledge, what are they doing with them? And are they being deployed adequately for national development? Well, these questions and more will be answered in the course of this program. My name is Leah and I welcome you to the Policy with Leah. We kick off in a moment. Yeah, we're starting from the trends table with developments from that arena.
Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, this week met with relevant stakeholders to ensure the realization of a government policy objective that seeks to sell crude oil to local refineries in Naira. The meeting, which had in attendance Mr. Henekin Lokobori, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Oil, Mr. Mele Kyari, Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL, Dr. Zach Adebiyi, Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS, Mrs. Lydia Jafia, Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Finance, and other notable participants provided an opportunity for in-depth discussions which underscored long-lasting challenges within the petroleum sector. A statement by the ministry described their engagement as a bold move to ensure the full implementation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, should transact with local refineries in the nation's currency. The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, says it has reimbursed about 82.36% of the total insured deposits of the defunct Heritage Bank. The direct payment was done through BVN-linked alternate accounts without the need for depositors to visit NDIC offices or fill out forms, which marks a historic shift for the NDIC in the prompt reimbursement of depositors. The corporation stated that the remaining 17.64% of the insured deposits yet to be paid were largely depositors whose accounts have post-no debits PND instructions or have no BVN. NDIC's Director, Communication and Public Affairs Department, Bashir Nuhu, said others are those with no alternate accounts in other banks or accounts with KYC limit on the maximum lodgement per day and are yet to come forward for verification. Directors of banks in the country have urged the National Assembly to revisit the 70% willful tax imposed on commercial banks and engage with the lenders on their amendment. Bank Directors Association of Nigeria, BDAN, said that though the windfall tax appears to be a response to the current economic climate, a 70% tax rate is excessively burdensome and ill-timed considering the ongoing bank recapitalization efforts. Mustafa Chikiobi, chairman of the BDAN, in a statement said the levy is inimical to the growth of the sector and is bound to affect the quality of services rendered, even as they seek clarifications on the ambiguities surrounding its implementation. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced the reintroduction of several key economic reports as the regulator declared its commitment to transparency and accountability in the nation's economy. The reports include the Purchasing Managers Index PMI, Business Expectation Survey BES, Inflation Expectation Report, and other critical macroeconomic indicators. Acting Director of Corporate Communications of the bank, Hakama Sidi Ali, in a statement said it is part of the CBN's ongoing data enhancement initiative and is designed to provide stakeholders with timely and accurate insights into Nigeria's economic performance.
The cybersecurity policy is our focus this week, and here's that conversation. Nigeria's National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy 2021 policy document draws its foundation from the 2015 National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy. Now, it is designed to address Nigeria's cybersecurity challenges, enhance digital competitiveness, improve indigenous technology development, and safeguard Nigeria's critical national information infrastructure. This policy document is expected to foster cooperation with Nigerian international allies in security and economic development, as well as ensure the protection of Nigeria's cyberspace from cyber attacks, online fraud, and other related illicit activities such as fake news and hate speech. The cyberspace has played a critical role in transforming Nigeria's economic and security posture, creating opportunities for innovation and the means to improve general welfare of the citizens. Well, I have joining me Mr. Adebiyi, and he is the founder of Education Times Africa, to look at Nigeria's cybersecurity policy and how it has been imparting our lives. I mean, can we get it better? Welcome, and it's nice to have you on the show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yes, I will need your understanding on this, really. The cybersecurity legislation is some years old, and so far, how is Nigeria's performance in the cyberspace?
I want to approach it from this way. We have quite a whole number of acts and a whole number of legislations that have been done out there. But the truth is that when you have missing parts in other areas, most of these acts and legislations, as the case may be, are not necessarily so, but they are almost dead on arrival. And why that be the case is because of the fact that there are so many other parts of the policy and part of government policies and government activities that can actually help to bridge the gap to enable that cybersecurity act as it is to be able to function well. We are all witnesses to what has happened in terms of the hunger in the land, in terms of the protest, in terms of the poverty level, in terms of the economy that is dwindling, in terms of so many of those things. If you look at all of those gamut of issues that we have, it is not enabling the Cybersecurity Act to actually function very well, because no matter how much government wants to implement that, there is still these other many issues to actually, battle with. All right. And part of it is our youth population. How empowered are the youth? Government, for instance, is looking forward to building up the economy to $1 trillion economy in the next 3-4 years. It's not ambitious. It's what government should achieve. But the truth is that what is government doing to enable that happen? How much of all of the other policy reforms and policy improvements will government be doing to attain that? So it's a whole lot of issues that government needs to look at. One of them is, which is very, very key, is our education system. Now let's take a step back. Government has actually, helped in the implementation of the NEL fund, loan fund for students to be able to go to school, at the tertiary level, and which is a very good development, very positive one, But again, there is another problem that is brewing in future. How will those students be able to pay back? Because if they are in school learning from the curriculum that is not future looking, they will end up graduating and not able to find the jobs to be able to pay back. Like the cybersecurity policy that you've talked about now, that is where the dent would come in, because people are not empowered to do those positive things that they should do. In that situation, negative acts would come in, just like the Yahoo boys and the rest of them. It's just because what they have gone to school to do cannot be practiced when they come out there in the society. Mm-hmm. And when they come out there in society, they basically do what they can find to do. And they have the energy to do these things. They have the brains to do these things. The only thing that is stopping them from doing it is the little things that they can empower themselves with. And once they are able to empower themselves with those things, it's all about internet, computer, and a bit of training from those that are ahead of them. So basically, government needs to look around all of the other gamut of issues that needs to support this policy and is able to help it to actually function and succeed eventually. Because it's for our collective good at the end of the day. We do not need a country whereby we'll have our names out there for the wrong reasons, but for the right ones.
In some climes, you see that when some of these persons are found who have this exceptional knowledge, you find that institutions pick them up and make use of them. In fact, they get them to sign some form of indemnity that if this ever happens again, you'll be responsible, and then you end up being the eyes of such institutions. I mean, can that work here?
It can really work.
Okay.
But the willing power or the willing attitude to actually make it work is what is lacking. Let me give you an instance. I have a friend when we were in high school. This boy is always in the school reports for the wrong reasons. We thought this boy was going to end up as a no good in future. He was a troublemaker and, but do you know today that in one of the states in the US, he's one of the top guys that is helping government in their investigation, in getting criminals and in, doing so many reviews for the government, and is working. He's not a clothed police personnel, but he's working with them in their intelligence gathering. And he's doing so well. He's gotten several awards because of what he's doing. Now, well, that's one of the things we fail to do. When a child does something wrong here, we beat the child. We always say spare the rod and spoil the child. The same thing with our government, which is the same thing that gets into the larger society at the end of the day. What happens is that when they catch these guys, they lock them up. And when they lock them up, they become hardened criminal. They become further hardened such that they are not even useful for the society in the ways they are supposed to. So it's very appropriate that even as government is thinking of this $1 trillion economy, the youth, which actually form the larger part of our population, they have a big role to play there. There are fintech associations today. The fintech companies are the ones that are doing so well today because of the huge financial transactions that keep going back and forth. These young guys are there. They know those loopholes. If you look at startups, for instance, around the startups hub, it's the young ones that are actually, helping to bring about most of the startups. And it's because those ones are able to put their minds and their talents in the right direction. Those other ones who are not patient enough, they actually go the wrong way. And when governments catch all of these guys, the best thing to do is to see how to empower them, how to use them to get other ones, build a system for them. Because if this kind of situation continues, we can never achieve what we plan to achieve. And even though we get near achieving it or we achieve it at the end of the day, there are other negatives that will keep busting the bubbles of which we may have been able to achieve over time. So it's always good to actually use them positively and see how they can actually, do quite a lot of things for. You have the AFCC, you have the ICPC, you have so many of the government bodies that are actually after economic crimes and financial crimes. I believe that what they should be doing next is basically to see how to build those capacity of the young boys. They are actually, always picking up here and there. But there was this NSAS protest a couple of years back, and we all saw how far it went. And it's just simply because when a policeman sees a young person with a laptop in his or her bag, that young person is in trouble, And that was part of why that protest happened. And that shows that a larger population of our young ones wants to improve. They want to develop. So rather than picking them up and taking what they have and doing all sorts to them, it's better to basically reform them, help them, take all of the knowledge they have, and adapt it to the situation that we found ourselves and improve on it. Abroad, you have government giving the young ones who are unemployed or underemployed, they give them council flats. And the council flats they give to them is not because government just wants to accommodate them, but if they are on the streets, they will cause more problem than when they are. And when they are in the council flat, they have the space to stay in. They have, because according to Abraham Maslow's law of the hierarchy of human needs, shelter is one of the basic things. So if the government is able to shelter in quite a number of our young ones, they will begin to innovate, they will begin to think positively. Mind you, it's all about appealing to the human being in them. And at the end of the day, they get a lot of better things from them.
You earlier made reference to intelligence gathering, and I also want you to speak on that as well. Reason being that recently we also witnessed another protest. And it was easy to identify people who are behind the protest, people who are sponsoring and what have you. And what came out from the security agencies was a result of intelligence gathering.
Absolutely.
And then while we'll be wondering, really, how is this intelligence not working for us when it comes to kidnapping, when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to stopping people from the farms, because part of the protest is hunger?
You'll be shocked at the level of which the government operates when it's certain things needs to be done. If certain kidnappers needs to be reached, they have the way of reaching and getting hold of such. If the government or the police or our intelligence system wants to achieve certain things, they can achieve them, just like the way you said as well. But I would say we're very lazy about it. Past governments have been lazy about it, and I think this present government would need to wake up and not to be lazy about this. Part of it is also for the fact that some people don't want to be found out. And for those that want to be found out, that don't want to be found out, are those that are not helping the government to achieve, the successes the government needs to achieve. So it's very important for the government to actually, look the other way and deal with these things as they ought to. There are certain individuals within the system that basically not helping the system to work.
We have to, as a country, tell ourselves that we need solutions, right? Because already the rain patterns is showing that the harvest might not be as bumper as we imagined from the beginning. And of course, there's been disruptions, for instance, from fertilizer supplies and other input supplies. Already the disruptions are there. And I also recently found out that there are places in the country where they don't even have access to fertilizer because of terrorism. And so the gap is there. How do we make this sector viable for a working Nigeria?
I was reading in the news either yesterday or a couple of days back about governments about deploying about 10,000 agricultural security personnel to the farms.
Do we need more human beings or we need more of technology in that?
We have quite a whole lot of lazy minds, and we're just trying to see how to make people, empower people the more to be able to have some income as well, if I may say. The same thing with our filling stations. If you look at it, you will see that when you go abroad, you serve yourself the fuel you want to buy. But here, because we have so many people unemployed and underemployed, so you now put in pump attendants there. So the same thing with this as well, and which is part of why a number of people within our systems, within our leadership, would not embrace technology so easily, because of the fact that it actually reduces however their mental capacity will take them in improving their persons or improving those around them. But the truth is that if government must really do this thing and achieve the success they desire, technology must actually, play its role. I mean, just like you've rightly said, drones are there to do quite a whole lot of things. There are foreign governments, the battles they are fighting, the wars they are fighting today, they're using technology to actually, achieve success in them. Without technology, they'll be fighting some blind wars or endless battles. So the earlier government does that, the better. But that is just what they have done recently. But moving forward, it can only help them to get started. All right. but it can't take them far. That's just what it means in not, or avoiding to use technology right from now. I know there's so many people who, at the beginning of banking system, when the ATM system came, they said no, they will still go to the bank and do what they have to do. But over time, they found out that, they are being left behind. They are not able to, do stuff. So the worst they could do is basically, or the best as the case may be, is basically to find someone, look, come, which child is there? This is my PIN. Please go and help me to get some money from the ATM.
People started stealing from them.
So, and again, just to show how technology can be so helpful, regardless of what challenges people may face. The same ATM, and part of why some of those that were technology shy back then, part of what they were encountering is that they are not so lettered or literate, so that they can read the things that the ATM is stating or hear properly what that lady may be reading out from the ATM machine. So some ATM machines have gone as far as actually bringing up other languages. So you get to the machine, it asks you, do you want Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, or what's your Pidgin, or, Coming back to what we're talking about, it will definitely get to that point. I believe it's all about maturity and system maturity as well. The system will definitely mature to that point. It's about a push and pull. The protests that happened recently, and I think I would appreciate the government for letting the protests to go ahead. And the people that protested as well, I would congratulate them, because most definitely, if all of their requests are not granted at the end of the day, quite a number of them will be granted. Or quite a number, government would reason along the lines of those protests and make some things happen that had never happened before. When this current government came into power, for instance, last year, there were things that seemed impossible. That was like, it can't happen. But they started doing some of these things, and it was open to everyone. The FCT minister came into office, and it was like as if the FCT never had a minister before then.
One will still be asking why, till now, a lot of infringements go on with the institutions not taking responsibility for that, and we are not seeing those perpetrating this actually being put out there for the world to see and identify them, that these are the persons.
Look at it, those that are even really, really impacted are those that you consider the downtrodden. And I once had one of the securities that work in my estate that came to me. He said that the last 50,000 naira in his account has been moved. To believe him, he told me that this social lawyer friend that I have is the one that is pursuing the case for him. And he does not even have anything to take home to his family. Government will have to rise to that, because the level of fraud that has been perpetrated at that level is so much. And there is internal parties to it and external parties to it. Just recently, I think a week ago, I was reading the news about the First Bank, having experienced a fraud of about 40 billion over a period of time. We started out by talking about our youth who are outside and committing the different forms of financial frauds and all of that. Some of these end up getting employment in some of these banks. And no matter how trustworthy the bank presents all of their personnel to the public, there are still those bad eggs amongst them. And those are the ones that perpetrate these things within the system, at times in collaboration with those outside. Government needs to actually wake up to that call, especially the central bank, because these things shouldn't just disappear just like that. There is only one chance experience that people experience as well. And when they take people's phones and they move the money they are moving, actually there's a track to it. There's a way they can actually track it and actually get to, they hardly respond to all of these things until when it comes to a tipping point and it can, you say, oh, no more. Or one individual who is ready to take the bull by the horns would say, no, as I am here now, this would not continue under my watch.
Most sincerely, thank you, Mr. Oke, for your time and for giving all the insights.
Thank you very much.
My name is Adebiyi Kori. Keep watching The Policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching The Policy with Leah.
We move on to our education segment, Simplify These, and from there we head to the markets. The much we can take this week. Don't forget that for market rates and more, you can get all the information on our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on our channel. It is at Saban Media Services. Don't forget, we value your feedback, so keep your questions, comments, and suggestions coming to help us serve you better, because on this program, we are after national development and how to get you closer to the policies. Until we come your way again sometime next week, I remain Leah Baba Tunde, and I say, God bless Nigeria.